Hello and welcome. Welcome to Pizza Party and Scriptural Readings with Ian. Today we are going to read a parable from Jesus in the New Testament, and we are going to read an excerpt from the Pali Canon, which is the true teachings or the true sayings of who's known as the Buddha, Gautama, the Buddha. Little lesson right out the gate. Buddha was not known as Buddha in his time. Buddha is a term that means awakened one or enlightened one. That's a more contemporary translation. And it was ascribed to Gautama Siddhartha, the historical Buddha, sometime after his passing. One sec. That's good. So we're going to read, we're reading these two. I've got a lot of context. So I've been doing several videos where I record this practice, spiritual practice. And the practice is recitation of the Lord's Prayer, famous prayer from Jesus, followed by meditation, and specifically I've turned into Vipassana meditation, specifically for the videos, because Vipassana meditation is a pretty simple meditation. It has a few steps, and so it's something that I can give instruction on in video. And the themes between the two they play together well. And so I'm reading these two scriptures for the same reason, as you will see. I suppose I will leave it at that for now, and maybe you will see the connection here. This is not me trying to make a political or religious statement about Jesus and Gautama, Siddhartha the Buddha. There are Buddhist monks walking for peace across America right now, and that coincided, interestingly, with me feeling called to do the spiritual practice I mentioned. Interesting timing. And I was thinking about this parable from Jesus, and then, I don't know, recently, last 2 days, I wanted to do a video on it, and then this metaphor or this parable from the Buddha also came to mind just now, and I thought I should read those two scriptures together. Okay, I'm reading these on my computer. I do have a physical Bible. In fact, we've got a few in this house. I do not have a physical printing of the Pali Canon or any other Buddhist texts. So I'm just going to read them both off of the computer. We're going to start with the New Testament, the parable from Jesus. Then Jesus told them this parable. The ground of a certain rich man yielded plentifully. Hold on, I don't know which translation I'm on, so I'm kind of speaking out of memory and out of what it says. Pause. Okay, I am on the Beroean Standard Version. Probably said Beroean wrong. I like the Beroean literal version because it's meant to be a literal translation of what the words are. But this is pretty good. This gets at the same idea, but a little more contemporary at times. Jesus told them a parable. The ground of a certain rich man gave forth plentifully. The truth is, I'm kind of mixing this with my own memory. I'm going to read it how I want to read it, and it's going to have the same meaning. I might replace some words from another translation. The ground of a certain rich man gave forth plentifully. And so he thought to himself, what shall I do, since I have nowhere to store all these crops? Then he said, this is what I will do. I will tear down my barns, and I will build bigger ones. And there I will store up all of my grain and my goods. And then I will say to myself, you have plenty of good things laid up for many years. Take it easy, eat, drink, and be merry. But God said to him, thou fool, this very night your life will be required of you. Then who will receive what you have accumulated? This is how it will be for anyone who stores up treasure for himself but is not rich towards God. Then Jesus said to his disciples, therefore I tell you, do not worry about your life, what you will eat, or about your body, what you will wear. For life is more than food, and the body is more than clothes. Consider the ravens. They do not sow nor reap. They have no storehouses or barns, yet God feeds them. How much more valuable are you than these birds? Who of you, by worrying, can add a single hour to his life? So, if you cannot do such a small thing, why you take worry for the rest? Consider how the lilies grow. They do not labor or spin. Yet I tell you, not even Solomon in all of his glory was adorned like one of these. If that is how God clothes the grass, which is here today and tomorrow is cast into the furnace, how much more will he clothe you, O you of little faith? Do not be concerned for what you will eat or drink. Do not worry about it, for the nations of the world strive after all these things, and your Father knows that you have need for them. But seek ye first his kingdom, and these things will be added unto you. Seek ye first the kingdom of God, and all these other things will be added unto you. That's the famous phrase that this comes from. I'm going to read one bit more. Fear not, little flock, for it is your Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. We're going to stop there. It goes on, but that gets to the heart of the message. And I find that to be beautiful, specifically the last line. Fear not, little flock, for it is the Father's good pleasure, your Father's good pleasure, to give you the kingdom. Now, that is in Luke 12, chapter 12, verse 16 to 32. This is the Tipitaki Sutra. It might appear in more than one place or by more than one name. I will try to clarify if there's words that are unfamiliar or whatnot in here. At Savatthi, it's a place, King Pasenadi Kosala went to the Blessed One in the middle of the day. The Blessed One is how the Buddha was referred to. before he was given the title, the Buddha. There are other translations of this where it replaced the blessed one with Buddha. Having bowed down to, I'm just going to say Buddha. No, I'm not. Blessed one. Having bowed down to the blessed one and sat to one side. As he was sitting there, the blessed one said to him, "Well, great king, where are you coming from in the middle of the day?" "Just now, Lord, a money-lending householder died in Savatthi. I have come from conveying his hairless fortune to the royal place. In other words, he has no child." This sutra or sutta is also called the childless sutta in some places. Sutra means, I don't remember exactly what it means. Essentially, it's a teaching or a verse, a story. I have come from conveying his hairless fortune to the royal palace. 8 million in silver, to say nothing of the gold. But even though he was a money-lending householder, his enjoyment of food was like this. He ate broke rice and pickled brine. His enjoyment of clothes was like this. He wore a 3-length of hempen cloth. His enjoyment of a vehicle was like this. He rode in a dilapidated little cart with an awning of leaves. In other words, he wasn't doing much with his wealth. He was living extremely frugally. That's the way it is, great king. That's the way it is. When a person of no integrity acquires lavish wealth, he doesn't provide for his own pleasure and satisfaction, nor for the pleasure and satisfaction of his parents, nor for the pleasure and satisfaction of his wife and children, nor for the pleasure and satisfaction of servants and assistants, nor for the pleasure and satisfaction of his friends. He doesn't institute for Brahmins, meaning worship or religious people, or teachers, and he doesn't institute for Brahmins and contemplatives offering of supreme aim, heavenly, resulting in happiness, leading to heaven. When his wealth isn't properly put in use, kings make off with it, or thieves make off with it, or fire burns it, or water sweeps it away, or hateful heirs make off with it. Thus his wealth, not properly put to use, goes to waste and not to any good use. Maybe you should have read this translation fully and made a few notes about which things between the two scriptures I really wanted to read and hit on, because I'm realizing I skipped a part in Jesus' parable where I didn't read to it. That would have been good to read because it directly correlates here. But when a person of integrity acquires lavish wealth, he provides for his own pleasure and satisfaction, for the pleasure and satisfaction of his parents, the pleasure and satisfaction of his wife and children, the pleasure and satisfaction of his servants and assistants, and the pleasure and satisfaction of his friends. He institutes for Brahmins and contemplatives offerings of supreme aim, heavenly, resulting in happiness and leading to heaven. When his wealth is properly put to use, kings don't make off with it, thieves don't make off with it, fire doesn't burn it, water doesn't sweep it away, and the hateful heirs don't make off with it. Thus his wealth, properly put in use, goes to a good use and is not wasted. Just as with a pond, not far from a town or village, with clear water, cool water, fresh water, clean, with good thanks. I'm having to translate some of this on the fly. Delightful. People would draw water from it, or drink it, or bathe in it, or apply it to their needs. And so that water, properly put to use, would go to a good use and not to waste. In the same way, when a person of integrity acquires lavish wealth, his wealth, properly put to use, goes to a good use and not to waste. Having said that, the blessed one, it actually says the one well gone, which is a different translation, a slightly different meaning. Having said that, the blessed one said further, like a water in a dilapidated place, in a deserted place, like a water in it actually says haunted place. Again, I'm thinking about other translations and trying to do this, some of it on the fly. Like water in a haunted place that, without being imbibed, dries up. Such is the wealth acquired by a worthless person. That's what it says in this translation. I think I've given up on trying to replace any of the words. Who neither enjoys it himself nor gives, but one enlightened and knowing. That's also a strange translation of that. Another in another translation, it says, no, it does say enlightened in this other translation. Interesting. But one enlightened and knowing, on acquiring wealth, enjoys it and performs his duty. He, a bull among men, having supported his kin without blame, goes to the land of heaven. Let me read another translation real quick. That's the same translation. Here we go. As cool water in an uninhibited region evaporates when not drunk, so too when a corrupted person acquires wealth. That's a better translation, I think. A corrupted person acquires wealth. They neither use it for themselves nor give it away. But when a sensible person gets hold of wealth, they use it and do their duty. That head, having supported the family unit, blameless, goes to a heavenly place. Now, right where I stopped reading in Jesus' parable, it says, do not worry, little flock, for your Father is pleased to give you the kingdom. Sell your possessions and give to the poor. Provide yourself with purses that will not wear out, an inexhaustible treasure in heaven, where no thief approaches and no moth destroys. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. That was it. Now, maybe you can see the connection here. Both Jesus and Gautama, the Buddha, are talking about wealth being really wasted. They're talking about good things in life that are given to us being wasted, either out of selfishness, or or self-centeredness, where in Jesus' parable, this rich man, receives a good harvest, and he decides, what am I going to do with all this? Now, he's already got barns full, presumably, or at least he has barns ready to be full if they're not already full. And he says, I'm just going to build even bigger barns, and I'm going to put all of this plenty in there, and I'll keep it for years and years and years. I'll have all that I need. And then the example from Buddha, he's talking about how the same type of person does not use it for themselves, neither uses it to help others, to provide for others. And both of them here are talking about, they both actually talk about heaven, which is interesting to me. It's interesting to me that in the story from Buddha, he's talking about heaven and securing a heavenly place by good and sensible actions. It's a little surprising to me because it's not that heaven isn't recognized or spoken of in Buddhism, or by the Buddha specifically, I should say. But it's not the ultimate aim in Buddhism. The ultimate aim is liberation or nirvana, enlightenment. But it makes sense because it makes sense. So here Jesus is saying, sell what you have and give to the poor. Provide yourself with purses that will not wear out. Is he saying go buy physical purses that are really well made and won't wear out? No, that's not what he's saying. Provide yourself with purses that will not wear out, an inexhaustible treasure in heaven. Where no thief approaches and no moth destroys. What did Buddha talk about here? About the person who basically hoards wealth and uses it neither for himself nor for the good of others. Trying to find the spot again. When his wealth isn't properly put to use, this is the Buddha speaking. Actually, let me look at this translation real quick. Because they haven't made proper use of their wealth, rulers or bandits take it, consume it, or flood sweeps it away, or their unloved heirs take it. Since that wealth is not properly utilized, it is wasted, not used. Again, Jesus is back here talking about provide for yourselves inexhaustible treasure in heaven, where neither thief approaches nor moth destroys. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. Leave that what it is. So, it's pretty cool. Sometimes people trip up on this part from Jesus, where he says, sell your possessions and give to the poor. I think we overthink that one a lot. And part of the reason is later on here he gives a parable about who is the faithful and wise manager, who the master puts in charge over not just himself, but the master's servants, and gives them their portion, their food and providings. Verse, who is the one? It doesn't say who is the one. He says, but imagine that the manager decides my master is away. I can do as I please. and abuses the servants and takes their food and drinks all of the wine for himself and such like that. And how bad a day it will be when the master comes, unexpected at that point, and how the master will not be pleased with that manager. So his point there is like, do good to others. With what you have, do well. He talks about how the master's return is unexpected as well. Of course, he's talking about spiritual things here, but so the whole point here with these two scriptures is not wealth is bad, or material possessions are bad, or the things that we receive in life are bad. The point in both of them is they're talking about the difference between someone who's sensible, who's considerate, compassionate, caring, responsible, you could say, responsible to others, and those who do not, who are not, and how they handle their blessings, basically, what they receive differently. This was a little bit of a juggling thing for me, and I haven't had any more of my pizza, and it's almost been half an hour, so we're going to end this video and upload it so that I don't overthink it, and fairly likely I'll go over these parables again sometimes. Is there anything I want to end with? Yes. Fear not, little flock, for it is your Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom. Give what you have. Provide yourselves with purses that will not wear out, and an inexhaustible treasure in heaven, where neither thief approaches nor moth destroys. For where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. As a cool pond in an uninhibited region evaporates when not drunk, so too, when a corrupt person acquires wealth, they neither use it for themselves nor give it away. But when a sensible person gets hold of wealth, they use it and do their duty. That head, having supported the family unit, blameless, goes to a heavenly place. Again, that's from the Buddha. That one's from the Buddha.